Huge trade in the NFL today. What does it mean for the Detroit Lions?
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I welcome in everybody. It is another episode of Locked On Lions right here in the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today is the final day of June, a Monday, June 30th into Tuesday, July 1st. Thanks for making us your first listen, everybody. Thanks for checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Might be on Apple or Spotify. Checking us out on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you have not yet. We appreciate all of you for being here. Thank you as well to all of our everyday listeners. We like to call them our everydayers that check us out daily here on the pod. That includes my guys, Chris Druin and Joe Allen, good friends of mine. Texted them today. I said, fellas, throw me some topics. And we got in on the subject of Lions cornerbacks and the big trade today between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Miami Dolphins, as Minkah Fitzpatrick is going back to Miami, the very good safety who's off of a rough 2024 season, going back to the Dolphins from Pittsburgh. Jalen Ramsey, the fine cornerback, going to Pittsburgh. Also, Jonnu Smith, the tight end, kind of a contractual move as well, because the Dolphins now are pretty much rebuilding and getting out from underneath a massive Ramsey deal. But it gets me thinking a little bit about the Lions and safety versus cornerback question from today's trade. I want to get into that coming up momentarily here on the program. Matt Derry with you, as I said, on a Monday edition. Also, Jared Goff, a trailer, a sneak preview of the quarterback show that's coming up later on this week on Netflix. There was a trailer put out today by the Pat McAfee show of the Jared Goff portion of the show. And man, it is emotional. It is awesome. We're going to play you the trailer. It's about 2.5 minutes. We'll play that and talk about Jared Goff coming up momentarily as well. And also, call of the day today. We'll bring that back. If you want to be our call of the day, leave a voicemail for us. Just go to the website, speakpipe.com/Derry, D-E-R-Y, my last name, Derry podcast page. Again, speakpipe.com/Derry podcast page. Congratulations are in order, by the way, to the Detroit Tigers, the American League Central Division champions. Yes, it is June 30th, and I'm ready to crown them as AL Central champs. My team, the Guardians, suck. The rest of the division is terrible. Tigers are playing great ball, and last night Scooble put on a show. So Tigers are going to win the division. I mean, they're up like 10, 11 games already. So congratulations to them. Couple more weeks, ladies and gentlemen, until the Lions have their rookies reporting July 16th. And, of course, the veterans, the entire roster there on July 19th. First training camp practice is in 21 days. Got football coming. Just be a little bit more patient. I know everybody's excited about it, but looking forward certainly to the Lions doing their reporting thing and get ready for the 2025 season. I know everybody is very, very excited about that. Tomorrow on the program, by the way, Hall of Famer enshrined into Canton last week, Bill Keenest, former legendary Lions Director of Communications, PR wizard, and now into the Hall of Fame, is going to join us on the show tomorrow, tell some old Lions stories, tell us about his trip to Canton. I mean, Matthew Stafford was there. Jim Caldwell was there with him. Rod Marinelli. Come on, Rod. My shovel is sharp, my pick is sharp, and my will is outstanding. Yes, the great Rod Marinelli. They were all there supporting Bill. So we'll talk to Bill Keenest tomorrow on the show and tell some old stories. Maybe I'll bring up some things maybe I'll throw some curveballs at Bill as well, because I got way too many Keenest stories. 222 Keenest Drive. We're going to have Bill on the show tomorrow. So excited about that. All right. Big trade, as I said, in the NFL today. Dolphins really look like they're blowing it up. It looks like they're rebuilding. They send tight end Jonnu Smith, good player, and safety and cornerback Jalen Ramsey to the Steelers in exchange for Minkah Fitzpatrick. They swapped out some late round draft picks as well, but the Dolphins getting out from under a massive contract that they gave Jalen Ramsey. Fitzpatrick, I believe, has one more year left on his deal. And Minka was a really good player for the Steelers, an excellent safety, but really last year his numbers tailed off. His PFF coverage grade went way down. It was a rough 2024 for Minka Fitzpatrick, who started his career, by the way, in Miami with the Dolphins and was traded to the Steelers, now is being traded back. But Pittsburgh gets Jalen Ramsey, and everybody in talking about the trade made a comment. They said, Pittsburgh is valuing cleaning up their cornerback room, which was very suspect a year ago. They signed Darius Slay, and now they brought in Jalen Ramsey. They already have Joey Porter Jr. And, I was talking about it earlier with my buddies Joe and Chris. They're big Locked On listeners and fans and friends. And we were talking about it. You got to have good corners. You've got to have good corners if you want to win in this league. You see what Philadelphia did last year, bringing in DeJean and Mitchell as rookies. And those two guys only got better as the season wore on. And yes, you can have a team. Okay. I'm raising my hand for those of you watching on YouTube. You can have a team with two top six safeties in the league. The Lions, Pro Football Focus. They rated Brian Branch 5th, Kirby Joseph 6th. We had that on the show 2 weeks ago. Yet the defense can still have its problems. Look, the Lions defense has come a long way. Remember the first year under Dan Campbell, and Aaron Glenn, this team was dead last, 32nd in defense. They sucked, but they were trotting out terrible players. All right. They've brought in more talent. They've got Nathan Hutchinson and Lee McNeil, and the linebacking core is good, and Joseph and Branch and all these guys, and they've gotten better. But they're still not a top 5 defense. They're still not a dominant defense. There's still holes there. They've gotten better. I believe once they're healthy this year, they're going to be better. But the one thing they do have is 2 excellent safeties. Kirby Joseph now is the highest paid in the league, and I bet you Brian Branch isn't close behind in a few years when the Lions hopefully re-sign him. But you got to have corners. You got to have depth at corner. You have to have guys that, especially the way the Lions play aggressively, man to man, and the old school bump and run. You got to have good corners. I grew up in Cleveland, right? In the mid to late 80s, the Cleveland Browns had 2 awesome corners, Frank Minifield and Hanford Dixon, part of the dog pound. Hanford Dixon was one of the original people that started the whole dog pound thing. Those 2 guys were bump and run, man to man, physical, excellent cornerbacks. And while the safeties weren't great, they had a very good safety in 1985 by the name of Don Rogers, who then died before the 86 season. But the Browns had these 2 guys, and it helped their defense because they never had a great pass rush. But those 2 guys were studs. And you look at the Lions cornerback depth right now and going into this season, all right, we know that their best cornerback is DJ Reed. Now, Pro Football Focus rated DJ Reed the 6th best corner in the game in their top 30 list. No other cornerbacks on that list are Lions. That includes, who I'm a big fan of, Amik Robertson, and also year 2 of Terrion Arnold. We discussed this ad nauseum on this show all year last year. Terrion Arnold got off to a really rough start, but as a rookie, he hung in there. He stayed healthy, and he took a lot of abuse. He got beat a lot. But as the season wore on, I like the way Terrion played. All right, so Arnold, Reed, and Robertson, I think, are going to have a big year. I really like what that starting room looks like. After that, and it remains to be seen. Ennis Rakestraw, of course, a second-round pick last year out of Missouri, always seems to be hurt, was not healthy last year. Avonte Maddox, I think they're going to move to safety, but has played a bunch of corner in his career. Khalil Dorsey coming back from shredding his knee. We'll see how healthy he is. They signed Rocky Sin in the offseason, the former Indianapolis Colt, who, quite honestly, has been a bit of a bust. And, of course, played last year for San Francisco. And then Stanley Thomas Oliver is a guy that had to play in the playoff game last year because they were so short on corners. And he, again, is kind of a project right now. So that's the depth might not be great, but the starters I really like. And yeah, this is a big year for Terrion Arnold. This is the year that he hopefully makes that jump. Again, 32 cornerbacks ranked by PFF. And real fast, Sauce Gardner, Pat Surtain, Trent McDuffie, Jalen Johnson, Derek Stingley Jr., and then DJ Reed, Marlon Humphrey, Christian Benford, Jair Alexander, Denzel Ward, top 10 guys. Carlton Davis, by the way, the former Lion and a close friend of Joe Allen's, he finished at number 18. It's an inside bit. Darius Slay, 21. Joey Porter, 26. Kenny Moore, 30 from the Colts. I think Terrion Arnold's a better player than Kenny Moore. Deron Bland, 32. No other Lions cracked that list. I love Amik Robertson. I don't care if he's a slot corner, a nickel corner, whatever you call him. I think he's excellent. And I think Terrion Arnold will get better. This is a big year for him, certainly. He had a year under his belt. Now under Kelvin Shepard, we'll see how he does. And if he makes some adjustments this year, still is physical without grabbing and holding and maybe breaking out. And next year at this time, we're hopefully talking about a top 20 guy in Terrion Arnold. We took him in the first round for a reason. There is a lot of talent there. All right, coming up next, I want to play you the audio of this Jared Goff trailer off of the quarterback show at Netflix. We'll do that coming up next, right here on a Monday edition of Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions today brought to you by our good friends at Monarch Money. Do you ever wish managing your money was easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can be. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. One thing that maybe surprised you when you started tracking your money with Monarch, well, what I like about it is you and your spouse can both be tracked at the same time, and it's just so much easier to have that, all the spending and everything all in one place that can be tracked, as opposed to different accounts, different houses, whatever you've got it in terms of banking houses. No, Monarch Money can do it all for you. One-stop shop. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. I'm Matt Derry, back with you on a Monday edition, everybody, of the old Locked On Lions, Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every day. All right, this is going to be exciting. If you watched last year, the quarterback series on Netflix, it was certainly entertaining. Kirk Cousins was funny. Patrick Mahomes, Marcus Mariota, kind of the life of a backup and everything else. Well, this year, Joe Burrow, Cousins again, and our very own Jared Goff on the show. Today on the Pat McAfee show on ESPN, they debuted the trailer for a portion of the Jared Goff part. This is courtesy of the Pat McAfee show and Netflix. Take a listen to this.
We were afforded the opportunity to debut a special, exclusive trailer from Netflix.
Answer the phone, and Brad sounds like he's out of breath. He's Jared, oh, thank God we got you on the phone. We're so excited to have you here. We're so excited.
When we got the opportunity to land him, it was a no-brainer because I had an idea of what we were going to start going through. I knew how resilient he was, and just thought that he'd be a good fit for the journey we're about to take.
Dan gets on the phone and says the same thing. We can't believe we were able to get this done, and can't wait to see you.
I remember the call, and I remember my excitement, and I wanted to make sure he understood how excited we were, how excited I was. You're going to be part of the foundation. We're going to build this from the ground up. You're going to be a huge part of this, and you're ours. Like, you belong with us. We're going to be tied to the hip.
It kind of brought me from this moment of picking up the pieces to reinvigorated with this energy of this is what it feels like to truly be wanted and to have these guys behind you, and hadn't felt that in quite some time.
I was going to dinner with my friends that night. I remember you called me and you told me the news. I remember you were like, will you come with me? And I was like, yeah, Detroit. I don't even know. I didn't even know. I've never been to Michigan. I didn't hesitate, but I also did not know what I was getting myself into, in a good way and a bad way. I can't imagine having stayed in LA that whole time.
A lot of people saw it as I was being cast away, or I was being sent to my career to die. And I think, a lot of people in my former organization may have thought that as well. for me, I saw it as what an incredible opportunity to be somewhere that has never won and has never been to the top of the mountain. And how incredible would it be if we're able to build this thing into a winner?
I mean, that's my guy. That's my quarterback. Every head coach has got a quarterback. If you want to have success, you better have a quarterback. And I got one, Jared Goff.
To be able to be with a head coach who's a first-time head coach and a GM who's a first-time GM, and be able to be the first decision they made when they got here and prove them right. And, how great of an opportunity is that? Sorry, I'm trying not to cry, but it's been so incredible to build with them. But that moment of hearing them on the phone and knowing that the opportunity that I had here was special.
That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible audio and video, that courtesy of Netflix. And again, Pat McAfee shared it today on ESPN. That's awesome. How great was that? I mean, first of all, Jared Goff is a romantic, man. Telling his then girlfriend, Kristen, will you come with me? That's pretty sweet. And she came with him and she's here. Now they're married. They've got a kid on the way. It's just very, very cool. But Goff getting emotional about being wanted, right? And feeling like he was being discarded at the pass stop. And he didn't say anything bad about the Rams. Jared Goff is an ultimate professional. But I think anybody that's listening to the pod or watching the pod right now that has been through stuff professionally, maybe even personally, to get that second chance, to get that opportunity to go with an organization or a company or wherever you work that really, really values you and wants you and tells you, hey, we want you to do this. We want you to do that. We've got faith in you. We love you, is just incredible. I know I've been through it. I worked in radio for many, many years and felt very devalued. And quite honestly, there were times I deserved to not feel good because I wasn't the best teammate sometimes. But you know what? When I was working at U of D Jesuit High School and now at Financial Architects and Q5, I'm told a lot of times, hey, great job. We're valuing you. Here's something for you. Here's appreciation. And the Lions going out and rescuing him from LA. And really, it started with Matthew Stafford telling the Fords, I'm out, get me out of here. And you don't blame Stafford. It worked out for both teams. But for Jared Goff to come to Detroit with two no-name guys, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, and go from 3 wins to 15, and it's a great story. And oh, by the way, listening to Dan Campbell talk about Jared, for anybody to ever think that over the next few years, Hendon Hooker is going to beat out Jared Goff or Hendon Hooker is the future here, watch the clips, watch the show on Netflix, Quarterback, watch it. Dan Campbell is invested in this guy. They have a lot of faith in him. He's performed well. All right. I get it. He's not a mobile quarterback. He doesn't run around a lot. Some fans think he's trash and he'll never get to the Super Bowl. He's been to the Super Bowl. All right. He's been there. I know they lost, but he's been there. He can take the Lions there. He's good enough. He's not even 30 yet. So, and the crowd and the fans have adopted him here. The Jared Goff chants, which were really born 3-4 hours before the Lions played the Rams in that playoff game. And I was at Ford Field and could hear those chants. That Jared Goff chant still is going on. Now it's not as much, and you go to a Tiger game and once in a while you'll hear it, but it rang loudly for over a year, almost 2 years. And he fits Detroit. He does. It's really cool. So I'm excited to watch that. I think it'll be great. And kudos to the front office and to Dan Campbell, to Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, two guys that had a lot of faith in this guy and committed to him and worked with him. And Ben Johnson deserves credit as well. Benedict, he deserves credit. They have gotten Jared Goff back to a place where he is playing at a high level and like a guy that was the number 1 overall pick many years ago. Remember, he was a top 5 MVP finalist last year. So pretty cool. Can't wait. It's exciting. And it's exciting that the quarterback here is good and winning. All right. That's not a knock on Stafford. Stafford was good and he took the team to the playoffs a few times, but didn't win playoff games here like Jared Goff has. And I'm not sure. And I think, Matthew embraced this town a lot. All right. But I think there's something about Jared Goff is more of an underdog than Stafford. that the fans are even more engaged into what number 16 is doing. So pretty cool stuff. All right, coming up next, a little call of the day. We'll play a little back-to-back audio clips for you. We will do that coming up next here on a Monday edition, everybody, of Locked On Lions. Quick reminder, everybody, when the Tigers are back in action, the AL Central 2025 division champion Tigers, when they take on the Washington Nationals tomorrow night. Following the game, check out Locked On Sports Detroit live on YouTube for the Tigers postcast with host Jake Riepma. You're going to be seeing a lot of Jake during the Lions season as well, doing the postcasts here and some other special shows that are coming up that we'll tell you about. But Jake does a great job. Locked On Sports Detroit. Look it up on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. The postcast tomorrow night, and after every Tigers game, as they're in D.C. tomorrow night to take on the juggernaut Washington Nationals. All right, it is time for Call of the Day, where you, the listener, gets an opportunity to be on the show. As once again, our Call of the Day is from out of state. We had one the other day that was a guy in Japan. No joke. So you want to be on the Call of the Day, leave us his voicemail at speakpipe.com/dairy podcast page. Here's our man, Hayden O'Leary, checking in.
Hey, Matt, this is Hayden here, everydayer from Washington, D.C. Just want to get your thoughts on, I was thinking about, O-line, since we talk about it a bunch, and, we have a bunch of new young guys coming up, and, maybe even next year, not this year, but we could have Penei Sewell, Matt Frazier, Tate Ratledge, Giovanni Manu, and Christian Mahogany all as our starting O-line. I just want to get your thoughts on what you think we would look like if those were our starting guys. With Graham Glasgow getting older, and same thing with Taylor Decker. I know we just restructured his deal, but just want to get your thoughts on the matter. For me personally, I really do like those guys, and they're all young, and I think they'll grow together and be a very scary offensive line. Thanks, Matt.
All right, and Hayden O'Leary, thank you for checking in and being our Call of the Day. Hold on a second here, Hayden. Hayden is saying not this year, but for 2026 season. What would an offensive line look like with Giovanni Manu, Christian Mahogany, Tate Ratledge, Miles Frazier, and Penei Sewell? That would be a very, very unproven and young offensive line. The one thing that I've liked that the Lions have done over the years is they've had veterans up front. All right. Yes, Sewell is young, but Decker's a vet. Frank Ragnow could be considered a vet. Graham Glasgow has played a lot, different positions, veteran. Last year, they had Kevin Zeitler, who was a veteran. They had Jonah Jackson years earlier, who had played enough years in the league 5 years in the league to then garner a first free agent contract. I don't think they would be that young in 2 years if they're still going for the Super Bowl and having that window to be playing all young guys like that. But what does excite me, and I've said this on the show, Hayden, is I'm excited about seeing what Tate Ratledge can do at center. I truly believe he's the center of the future. I think he's the guy they're thinking about. I know there have been plenty, including our friends at Pride of Detroit and other websites, and that have written about, hey, look, at least for this season, give the job to Graham Glasgow. He's 32, still has enough fuel in the tank to play center, and let Ratledge play guard and ease him in. But I just have a feeling that this franchise feels like Ratledge could be really, really good at that spot. Giovanni Manu at left tackle, I don't know. I think Manu has a chance to play guard this year. But if Decker goes down, is Manu ready to play left tackle as a kid that's never played an NFL game? Or do you have Dan Skipper in there as a backup and as your super sub, like Skipper's been, and you kind of just go with a veteran that's going to be serviceable? But Manu and Miles Frazier are definitely intriguing. These are mid to late round picks. Manu was a 4th rounder, Frazier a 5th this year. That I think when you give them to the mad scientist, Hank Fraley, best O-line coach in the game, or one of them, that maybe he can turn them into something really good. I mean, Christian Mahogany last year had to start. I think when Glasgow or Ragnow, maybe Glasgow missed the Bears game, I believe, in Chicago. And Mahogany played in that game. And it's like, okay, rookie 6th round pick, was sick during training camp, was not even a part of the team really for a while. And man, he went in there and moved some bodies around. So I am excited about Mahogany. I'm excited about Ratledge. I'm excited about a lot of the youth and depth that this organization has with their offensive linemen. I'm stoked about it, actually. I think that it's going to be something very, very cool. The question again is and remains, how good will they be? And in 2 years, will Taylor Decker be a contract cap casualty? Will a guy like Graham Glasgow go, like you said? Because they're both getting up there in age. But Taylor Decker is a captain and somebody that did re-sign recently, and I think eventually wants to retire here and be a part of this team. You run the risk. If you get way too young on that offensive line, you run the risk of getting your quarterback hurt. So I'm not ready to crown any of these guys just yet for 2026, but I am excited about the future of this offensive line and the fact that there is some really good depth there. Hayden is right about that. That's for sure. All right. Tomorrow, the historian, the legend, Bill Keenest, just recently enshrined and inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in the media and PR wing and excellence awards. We're going to talk to Bill tomorrow on the show and tell some stories and talk about his trip to Canton, which, like I said, Matthew Stafford was there. I want to talk a little bit about how much a PR guy was beloved, and Bill was there over 35 years. A guy like Matthew Stafford flying all the way across country from LA to Canton, Ohio to be there for Bill is pretty cool. We'll talk to him tomorrow right here on a Tuesday edition of Locked on Lions. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Patience, my friends. We are turning the page to July tomorrow. That means training camp sooner rather than later. Talk to you again tomorrow.